Hello, I'm Darren Weaver with Agriteer. We are a CLAAS dealer in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. We have a recording here today on CLAAS 4H harvester cabs. This is specifically the 502 series machines that are in production since 2020. It would be all machines with the touch screen. First, we will start off with an overview of the cab layout. Right here we have our CEBIS screen. On the armrest we have our buttons here. So if we turn the cutter head off, slow the machine down, go back to 0 mile per hour. Now our park brake came on. If we were to push the park brake button again, it now changed to red, which is in manual mode, so we cannot take it out of park unless we again push the park brake and turn it to green. Now if we push our hydro lever, it will go forward. We can also now shift our gears. So you see we changed to second gear. This is a button if we were to have the differential lock option. This here is our master switch for our applicator. If we push and hold this button for 3 seconds, it will activate a flush feature of the inoculant system. Here we have our header fold switches, and this is the spout raise and lower buttons. These buttons is for your contour segments. You can change that with this quick button. This here is your autopilot centralizing switch, so you can change that on the go. Whatever contour button you have activated, you can then change this up and down. This here would be to change your cruise pilot control, and this is your autofill height. This is your header speed, and this is your length of cut. On the side here is the road travel switch, which is up on the upper console to put the machine in road travel mode. Right here we have the accelerator adjust feature for calibrations. So as you can see, today we are chopping corn. We have the corn head on the machine. We will be demonstrating the use of that. So first of all, looking at the CEBIS monitor layout, we have 2 screens. We have a fieldwork screen and we have a road travel screen. Each of those screens is laid out with a main screen, 3 on the side here, and then our list of options on the far right. So we think of this screen as going from right to left. So if we open anything on the right side here, it opens to the left, and then if we click on something, it opens again to the left. So in the road travel screen, we have our fuel level right here, the engine RPM right here, and our ground speed in the center. On the left, tire PSI, in the center is our engine temperature. On the right is our urea level. These 3 screens on the center here can be changed to anything you want. If we select that, we can change that to something else if we would like to. Going back to our fieldwork screen, we can also see at the bottom of the screen we have all our different functions that are activated. We can see right now we're going 11.1 mile per hour. We are in first gear. 4-wheel drive is not activated. Here we see that our header is running forward, and this is the cruise pilot feature that is turned off because it is black right now. We have the grease gun function. It is green right now, so that means it is operating. In the top bar here, if you had a camera on the machine, you could click on that. This folder icon here is to go to your chopping start mode. So if we were to select that folder mode, it would come to this chopping start menu. Here we have the start chopping and chopping menu that we can select a different set of features. Here we can also select this and see our moisture. Right here we are looking at our Agriteer tank, and we have it currently set for 0.61 fluid ounces per ton. We can adjust that up or down, or we can select the center here and we could type in a number that we want. If we select the spout here we can also change whether we're loading to the side or loading to the rear. This would just change that menu. This would also change your OptiFill on or off. All of these are buttons that we can select. Here we could change our corn cracker clearance. Right here we can change our length of cut. This is our accelerator gap. This is our water tank. Down here we can see we have our engine load is at 129%. We need to slow down a little bit. We can see we're chopping in the red. If we just pull back a little bit, now we are down to 7 miles per hour, and we can see our engine load has reduced to 119. Your engine load you will want to run at as close to 100% as possible. If we select this, here we can turn the cruise pilot on or off, turn our headland on or off. So right now I just turned it on, and with that feature, when we raise our header above working position, it will lower the engine RPM. So as we see in the bottom here, our cruise pilot is not activated. If I go here to this button and hit the autopilot button, it is now activated on the screen. So starting out with our front attachment menu, here's the setting of the front attachment height. So right now it is at 41%. If we go to this screen out here, we can see that what is activated is what is lit green. So the green arrow is at 41% there. So we could come in here and adjust that if we desire. So whatever is activated will be that number. So if we tap on our contour button and move to the other arrow selection, we are now at 21%. And we can see we have drag rods on the corn head, so that is what the feelers shown there are, is the sensors on the corn head. If we go to the hydro handle and hit the top part of the button for preset height, we see it went to that arrow, and now our icon changed underneath the head. Now if we tap that again, we'll raise the head up for turning around, and you can see now we are not chopping anymore. So we will again lower the head down to working position and be back in business. This black arrow here on the right bar graph is wherever your header working position is set at to turn on and off your applicator. So our next selection here is an option to turn on and off the cross leveling feature of the head. There is very few instances where you would use that. The next position here is telling us that we have a maze header on the machine, and it says that our working width is at 24.6. This is a feature you will need to use, especially if you're using third-party mapping systems. You will need to ensure that your header width is at the correct position and set your third party such as Agriteer or Climate to that working width. You can also use the partial width setting, which is a feature that will determine how many widths are in the head. So you could then change that if you were only taking 5 rows instead of 10 and wanted to monitor your field acre counter manually. We can then go into the auto contour settings. So this is a nice menu that will allow each operator to change their settings however they see fit. We see this button is the sensitivity of our auto contour. So as you see, I did a long press on that button, and it came up with information on this menu and tells you the information you need to know. So if your header is reacting too fast or not fast enough, you can come in here and adjust that. This one here is for your cross leveling, determines how fast your header will tilt side to side. This one is set your quick manual raising. So This one I usually like to run up fairly high so that if there's a rock or something in your way, you can hit the button and raise your head up quickly. This is your manual lowering, so this will determine how fast your head drops when you push the down button. The auto contour drop rate will determine how fast your head drops when you activate the auto contour. So if your head is bouncing too fast, it could be that your auto contour adjustment needs change or that your drop rate needs changed. Then coming into the front attachment teach-in procedure. So this is a procedure you should do maybe once every year before you start in the season. If you have a header with recognition module on it, you will not need to do this very often. But if for some reason you need to, you can come in here and start this procedure and it will tell you what to do. It will ask you to raise the front attachment. So if we hold the raise button of the front attachment, we can see our percentage going up. When we get to 25%, it asks us to lower it again. And then we will keep on following the directions. We have to raise and lower the header twice. We come up here, raise the complete way again, and then lower it for the second time. And now it says the learning process was completed. So what that does is learns how high the head can go and how low the head can go and how heavy it is, which allows your contour and everything to work at its best performance. So working position set value, this here is where this black line is in the right bar graph. So that is the height that determines where your applicator will turn on and off. So if we select that, we can change that to different positions. A lot of heads, you will set your working position to 40 to 50%. We can also use this feature. So with this feature, it will learn whatever height your head is set at. So here it says the procedure was successfully completed, and now we see our working position set value is at 0. So now we see that our black arrow on the right bar graph is at the bottom. And that is because the head is the whole way down. If we come back to this working position, we can set it up here to 54%, and now we see our black arrow in the right bar graph is up high again. Variable front attachment drive. So here we have a few options for operating mode. We can turn that off, or we can turn it in manual or automatic. If we have a pickup head on with a dual variable header drive, we will have a second menu down here to change those settings, and we will have similar settings on that. If we go to manual, here we can change the speed of our head. So 480 is the original speed before automatic. Here it gives you some information on that. So if we have down corn, we can turn our speed up against and really get the head spinning to pull that corn in. Just keep in mind, if you run high speed, it can wear your header parts out much faster. So now if we go to our drive menu, we have our working speed, which is when the throttle position is set at half throttle. So if we come here and pull this back to half throttle, and then when we change our working speed, it will adjust to that speed. Cases where you will use this are for dry haylage or to save fuel consumption if you do not need high RPMs for whatever reason. The headland feature here is where it will lower your engine RPMs when you raise your header above working position. As we see here, the more green is activated. This is for Tier 5 machines. We have the diesel particulate filter regen option here. That is not a feature that is needed too often. Next is our driving strategy. We have the acceleration is starting at 0. We have -5 to +5. So that determines how quick your machine starts and stops when you move your hydro handle. Cruise pilot is this icon here at the bottom of the screen that we have on but not activated right now. Here we could turn that off, and now that icon has went away. So we will leave that on. Here's our sensitivity. We can adjust from soft to very aggressive, and that will determine how quick the machine speeds up and slows down. It is best to run it more aggressive when you're not used to it, so that it will also slow down quicker and not plug your machine up or something if you hit a lump in the windrow. So here we can change our strategy. We can run it at a constant speed of, say, I want to run at 4 miles per hour so my trucks can always just run at 4 miles per hour. Or we can run on a constant throughput, so that will keep our machine, say, running at always at 200 tons an hour. Or we can do at maximum diesel engine load, and that is most likely where you will run it. So when we set at maximum diesel engine load, here we can select our nominal speed. If we set that at 1750, when you go into the crop, it will try to pull the engine down to 1750. If we change this strategy, then here we can change our target throughput. On top of that, we don't want to get into light crop and the machine take away from us, so we can set our maximum ground speed. Here we have a max of 12 miles per hour. Here we have our four-wheel drive sensitivity. So if we select on here, we can see -5 to +5 changes 20% each direction. This will determine how much our four-wheel drive is helping or not helping us. Could determine where you set it depending how muddy it is or if you are tearing the grass up in your hayfield. Here we have a differential lock option. This is not a highly used option. If your machine does not have it from factory, it's a difficult option to add. If you have that option, here it is. This is to learn if you were changing tire sizes, we could learn these pulses to get the mile per hour more accurate. Here is a tire pressure control system. So we have the automatic feature, we have the manual feature, and we can turn it off. With the automatic, when we flip the road switch, it will change our tire pressure from field work to road work. In manual, we can then select manually on the dash which one we want. So here we have, for most tire sizes, this is for the rear tire size, this is for the front tire. Probably want around 20 psi for field work, and for road travel around 32, depending on your tire size. Autopilot menu, we can turn this on. Here we can select what sensor we have. This is if we would have a sensing band on the corn head to follow the corn row. Here we have our centralizing switch, so if we want to pull to one direction or the other, if we're on a hillside. And here we have straight ahead travel, that we can learn our wheel angle sensor, that we are traveling straight ahead. And here we have our touch arms, which is the feelers on the corn head, and just learns the zero position of that. Dynamic steering determines how fast your wheels turn when you rotate your steering wheel. So if we turn that on, right here we can change where that is set to. So this is your option for in road travel and when your head is above working position. With this adjustment, we can drastically change how much we need to rotate our steering wheel to make a turn. This working position steering is for when our header is in working position. We can have a specific adjustment just for that, so that we don't move the steering wheel a little bit and run into the truck beside us. Moving on to our machine menu, we'll start at the top with the feeder unit. This here is a cut length control option. So with this feature, it will change your length of cut determined by your moisture of your crop. And if we come back here and shut our machine off, then we can come into here to our adjustable pre-compression. This is for our feed roll compression, determines how hard the feed rolls are gripping the crop. We have a manual setting or an automatic setting. You will find in your machine that you also have a user-defined setting that you can change the pressure manually. In this operating mode, if we are set to manual, here we can change if we are on strong or medium or weak. And here we have some more information on that. If you are in a spring forage crop with very high moisture content, over 70%, you will want to come in here and select the user-defined option and turn your pressure as weak as possible. Also, with the latest software in 2025 here, we can now have a picker head setting. So if you have a header selected for a picker head, we can come in here and we can set our pressure lower yet to be able to feed ears into the feed rolls. Under our direct stop feature here, if we turn this on, that means that when we get metal in the feed rolls, it will stop the machine instantly in its tracks. This feature is to change the sensitivity of our metal detector. Even if we set that at 1, it will still detect metal, but at 5, it will be more sensitive. This here is our stone detector settings, so you'll want to adjust this so that you're catching all your rocks, but not that you have to get out constantly. It's saying that when it is at 0, it is off, so when you're using a corn head, you'll want to make sure you're set at 0. When you're at 10, it is the highest sensitivity. As we are cutting corn right now, we want to set this to 0. And then here's a feature where we can learn the metal detector. Moving on to our cutting cylinder. If we come in here, it tells us what cutting cylinder we have in the machine. In this machine, we are showing a 36 knife. So if we were to take half of our knives out, we would then select 36/18. Most times your machine will say 24/24, which means you have a full 24 knives in your drum. This knife support feature is a feature that is not used in North America. The corn cracker, we can come in here and adjust the corn cracker gap if you have a corn cracker with adjustable motor on it. So here we can change of 1 to 6 millimeters. If we press and hold on that, it will tell us what we need to do to be able to adjust that. Most machines out there will have the Type XL selected. This here is the reference clearance. So when you have your corn cracker out for the winter, the adjustment gets changed, and then you reinstall it. You need to check your gap with a feeler gauge. If you check the gap and find that it is actually at 3 millimeter, then we will come in here and change that, and that changed the gap of the rulers. So in normal harvest, we need to make sure that we are not adjusting this here, or our gap will not be accurate with the actual. Our accelerator gap, here we can change this gap. With that, we want to run that gap as far open as possible, as long as we are still getting the desired blowing capacity. If we change accelerator paddles or do as they wear, we need to come in here, do this learning procedure, which tells us how close our accelerator paddles are allowed to travel to the back plate. So if we start that learning procedure, we need to activate the main drive, and now this switch that is behind the cab, we will press and hold that until we hear a scraping noise as it says here. So whenever we hear the accelerator paddles start to hit the back plate, we will then let off of this button. It says wait, and then when it completes, then it will know where that gap is. So on the simulator here, it is not completing, but you get the picture. Moving on to the applicator. At the top line, we have our source. So if we select our source, here we have our end-saling agent and acticyler tank. The end-saling agent is the big water tank at the bottom of the steps. The acticyler tank is the low-volume applicator on the right fender. We will leave these both selected. We can come in here and change how we are dosing that quantity. Top one is for the water tank. The bottom one is for the concentrate. So we have it on depending on throughput. So here at the water tank, we have our volume. So here we can change our water tank dosing, and then here we can change our fluid ounces per ton for our concentrate. Down here we can see that our water tank is at 65% level and our acticyler is at 49. At the bottom here we can see the temperature inside our low volume applicator is at 84 degrees right now. Moving on to the upper discharge chute, we have our OptiFill, which moves the spout flap as you move your spout. As we move our spout side to side, it will keep the flap in an even line so that you can fill a tractor trailer without moving your spout flap. And also when you turn your spout out the back, the flap will go up the whole way. Below here is our autofill menu. So here we can select that we want the autofill to move our flap in the direction of the spout, or we could just have our autofill change the discharge flap direction. The transfer behind is for when we are opening up and filling out the back. Display mode, it would just be showing you on the screen where you need to fill next in the cart and so on. Here's the filling strategy. With the standard fill, it will fill a little bit in the front end and then fill from the back front. With the front fill, it will just fill from the front back, and with the rear fill, it will fill from the rear front. Here we have all our different sensitivities. So here we can change our hitting point of side to side. The center one is our top fill. The right one here is our safety distance to the front. This one is our safety distance to the rear. And this is our sensitivity. So we will need to set the sensitivity as high as we can to make it accurate without, if we set the sensitivity too high, it might start wagging back and forth, especially on rear unload. Right here, we can change how many extensions are on the spout. Right here, we can change our spout flap and spout rotation speeds. So here's our spout flap. So if we want our spout flap to move quicker, we can change that. This here is the rotation of the spout. So this is for the first position of the spout. We can change our speed. And then for the fast position, we can change our speed of that as well. The spout has all the sensors on for the autofill and things to operate. So we can come in here, learn the position of that, especially after we add or remove spout extensions. And lastly, in the machine menu, we have the chopping start mode. This is where we can come in here, change our different menus for start chopping or chopping. So in start chopping would typically be for opening up a field. So we would want high engine RPMs to be able to blow as far as possible when opening up. We would want our cruise pilot to be off so that we can monitor the ground speed ourselves. We want our direct stop to be off so that if we get metal, the truck doesn't run in the back of us. We want our accelerator gap to be set close so that we can blow far. We want our OptiFill off, and we want it set to transfer behind for the autofill. For chopping menu, we can set our working speed lower so that it doesn't take as much fuel when we're not working the machine hard. And then we can have our cruise pilot on. We could turn our direct stop back on. We could have our accelerator gap set open the whole way. We'll have our OptiFill on, and we will have our autofill set to discharge flap and direction out the side. Sharpening menu. So in this menu we can select sharpen chopper knives. Here we see that we have it wants to sharpen 105 passes on the grindstone. If we go to our sharpening cycles, this should have a max of 30 passes on here. So now if we go back to our sharpen chopper knives menu, here we see that our target number is at 30, and here we see that there was 14 passes already on the sharpening stone since it was last adjusted. So if we start the procedure, we see the door went open, and now the sharpening stone is going back and forth. And now we see our number of grinding movements is adding up, and will continue until it is at 30. Now we see the door went shut, and it says the operation was completed. If we want to adjust the shear bar, we can see here that the condition of knives is at 80%, and our clearance is at 6 out of 20. That should be a max of 10. But here we can select that, and it will adjust the shear bar. We can select the arrow, and then it should set the shear bar. If we want to replace the knives or the shear bar, we need to back the shear bar up so that there is room for the new knives. So we will have just the key on, and we can come in here and select the arrow here, and then go down and tap on the shear bar, and the knock sensors will react to that and back the shear bar up. If something's not working right, there is a menu here that we can activate a test procedure. In the settings here we can see our information. So we see our knives are at 80%, and the time to next sharpening is at 5 hours. Number of sharpening cycles on the grinding stone since it was last reset is at 19, and we see that the total number for the machine is at 43. So right here we can change how many sharpening cycles, and here we can set our shear bar clearance. We will typically run that at 5. If we press and hold this button, we can see some recommended settings here. So here we see if it's a used shear bar, the value would be recommended at 4 to 1. Right here we can change our sharpening interval for a reminder on the CEBIS. So we can set that to whatever time we want. We typically don't want to be running longer than 2 hours. We can also set a reminder for tons. It would be best if every 500 tons we are sharpening those knives for best performance. If we are mounting used knives, we can come in here and manually enter the condition of our knives. After we replace the knives, we can come in here and set the knife condition to 100%. After we reset the sharpening stone, we come here and set the sharpening counter to 0. Our crop menu, we have our quantimeter, we have our crop type we need to change to whatever we are harvesting. So right now we are harvesting corn, so we will select maize, which is German for corn. If you are running a third-party mapping system, you will need to ensure that you are setting the correct crop here for your mapping system to work properly. This is an option where we could manually change our crop weight if we knew the burn down weight of our crop. We can come in here and set the 0 point of our feed rules, so that knows that when there is no crop going through the machine. That is a feature that is good to do maybe once a week. The response threshold is how quickly your quantimeter will activate when your feed rules start opening. So if we press and hold on that, it comes up with a menu here that is recommending 2 to 3 in grass, and 3 to 5 in corn. So as a general rule, 3 is a good option. The test weighing procedure. So we need to make sure this is always off unless we are going to be using it. So if we need to calibrate the quantimeter, we will come in here and activate the test weighing measurement. So now we will go back out here and start doing some chopping. We need to activate our contour. We need to speed our engine up. And now we should start seeing some crop. So as we are in here with the crop size measured, this should be counting up in the trailer and in the harvester. When we come in here and turn this off, we will then be able to select the trailer and manually enter in the weight that we received. After you did this test weighing, you filled a trailer, you will then turn this off. After that, you can continue harvesting until you get this crop size measured weight. You will go in here and select that. It'll show a pile of silage there, and you can come in here and select that and change the weight to what you received. This count back feature, if it is turned on, it will change your calibration factor for the history of the job. Moisture measuring, here is just the button to turn that on or off. We can change the operating mode to dependent on dry matter or moisture. Right here we have a moisture correction, so if a burn down test reveals something different, we can change that. This wagon filling weight measurement is a feature. If turned on, you can select 3 wagons. So if you have 3 different size wagons and you want to limit them to, say, wagon 1, we need to limit to 10 tons. We can come in here, and when we get to 9.92 tons, it will give you a warning and say the wagon is full. That way, if you're running across the scales down the road, you can save yourself a headache. The job menu, here we have a list of 20 different jobs. Right here is job 1. I'll come in here and start that. Now it is recording for this job. If I stop that job, we then can name it. So right now it is named job 1. Right there we have we can change the description. If we come over here, we can see the job recorder information. So here we can see our fuel consumption, our dry matter, how much application we put on, all those different options. Moving on to counter, right here we can see how long our fuel and our urea will last. Right here we have a daily recorder. So this is much the same as the jobs menu. It is just a recorder that will run for as long as you would like it to. So if you want to run it for your entire corn season, you could do so. Right here we can reset that. And now everything went to 0. This recorder summaries is where we will go to see the complete history of the machine. The service menu, our central lube system. Right here we can activate a one-time greasing. If you're washing the machine or something, you can come in here and just activate that, push some fresh grease to all the grease points. This learning procedures is a place where we can calibrate all our different options. Maintenance settings, the top one, automatic main drive shutoff. So if you select that button, it will delay the time that the cutter head stays running when you get out of the seat for a few seconds. This is not possible because our cutter head is running. If we activate that when the cutter head is off, it will open up our feed rolls so that we can clean out or do maintenance to our feed roll system. Vehicle information, we could come here to see our battery voltage, different options, a lot of different things about the machine. If there were to be an engine error code, right here is where we would see that listed. thing to remember is that engine error codes are only displayed when they're active. This is your alarm history. So here you can change what all you'll see on this. So right now we're just seeing the error warnings. If we select one of these, we can see that error code. If we push on the different tabs at the top, we can see details about it. And here we can see some more numbers for that error code. If you have active error codes, they will be at the bottom here of this list. Right here, it is possible with a removable data device plugged in that you could download information. So here we are in the settings menu. Select the external control. This here we can select our air horn if we have that option. We could select if it is off or if it operates in the field. Also have an option to operate in the field and the road. This user type should most times be set to professional. If we set this to beginner, it will eliminate a lot of the functions so that a beginner user could not change your settings, but there is nowhere that it tells you what user type is set to, so it's best not to mess with that if you don't have to. Here we have our display settings. So with this, we could change our display to the dark design, or there would be an option for automatic as well. And then also we have our brightness settings. So here we have our different user display settings as we seen in the home screen. Here we have our favorite management button. So this is for this button on the handle. As we hit the star button, we can then use these arrows to page up and down. So there I selected the spout raise and lower. As I move this, it will raise and lower the spout. If I select this star again, it will automatically go back to the header pivot or the crop rule raise and lower on the hay head. In this favorite management, we can change the position of these. If we wanted the positioning of these to be different, we could do so. Under lighting settings, we have the option to turn the beacon lights on when the trailer is filled if we have autofill. We have audio settings. We can change the sound level from low to high. We have the assignment of the display areas. Here we can change 1, 2, 3, and 4. Under the fieldwork screen, we can select all these different options. So the middle one is set for length of cut and siling agent control. If we change it to the concentrate dosing, then we can go to our home screen and we see that this is set to the concentrate dosing. It's saying that it is circulating right now. And here is the road travel option. And here is the option to change all those. If you have a camera, we could change our camera input. We could have a rear view camera, so that pops up on here when we go in reverse. And the same with camera 2. And then under basic settings, we can change our language. We can change between miles and kilometers and all of those good things. And last but not least, here under information, we have the serial number of our machine, and we also have a QR code to the CLAAS Connect portal where you can find information about your machine such as parts, lubrication information, and much more. So this concludes the CEBIS demonstration of the Jaguar. So if you have feedback on this, please let us know, and watch out for more videos of tutorials coming from Agriteer in the future.